Now we will learn about Lucifer today, the prelude, the rise and fall of Lucifer. Go ahead.
Okay, so according to Christian doctrine, Lucifer was the brightest of all of God's angels. He was the most powerful and the most proud. Now, the reason for his fall is heavily debated upon, depending on who you ask, but either way, his pride was behind it. He either grew proud and decided he shouldn't serve God, he should be God, or he decided that he, as an angel, should not have to bow to humanity since humanity was God's favorite creation. Whichever way, he was too proud. He led a third of the angels in a war against God, lost very badly, and was cast to hell.
Yes, that's pretty much always been my summation of the events in Christian lore. Now, apparently he was defeated particularly in battle by the angel Michael.
Yes, the Archangel Michael, patron saint of knights, protectors, and, all around fighting, was the one who defeated Lucifer in hand to hand combat and was the one who physically cast him to hell.
Yes, hand to hand, though I think in some art depictions they do present themselves as having swords.
There's a whole thing about the sword of Michael, and they depict him as either wielding a sword or a spear, but most depictions have him literally stomping the back of Lucifer's head into the ground when he defeats him, which, you have wings. I don't see why you need to actually stomp on somebody.
Now, I've heard definitely in some interpretations, uh, after the initial hand to hand combat, Lucifer transforms into a dragon.
Yes, that is from the Book of Revelation, where they refer to Lucifer as the dragon, the old serpent. Uh, it is kind of like in a video game when the boss has a second form. Yeah, apparently it didn't do him too well since he still lost.
Now, what's that meme goes? This is even my final form?
Yes.
Yes. But in the end, it was not enough. Now, funny enough, I definitely have seen like references to dragons. That's kind of often in the Bible, isn't it?
Yeah, the Bible does not like dragons. Not only are dragons and serpents connected to Lucifer explicitly, most serpents and dragons are treated as always chaotic evil creatures. They're either Lucifer himself or a demon.
Is it Lightbringer? Is that I've definitely heard something like Lightbringer or Morning Star or things of that nature.
Yes, that is what Lucifer's name literally translates to in Greek and Latin. It is also why he's connected with Venus in ancient Latin traditions, because Venus was the morning star and it was thought to represent him.
Interesting. Now, going over towards Lucemon, of course, his story parallels him. The difference being is Digimon is like I say, a story with multiple beginnings, and Lucemon is also sort of a legend in the digital world, so not all stories are the same even there. So there's no one concrete story, but I would just say the most consistent that I could find. Basically, he was the greatest angel in the digital world. He came to the digital world due to all the fighting and violence. Now, using his great power, he basically stopped all the wars. Now, sometime after, I suppose to finally quell everything, he pretty much talked to Digimon's version of God, which is either Yggdrasil or a character that might literally just be called God. But in one story, it was Yggdrasil. And he asked, could you please take the fighting spirit out of Digimon? He said no. And after his refusal, I guess you say it out of pride, he basically led a great war in the digital world, then eventually tried to fight Yggdrasil. Now, it's not known exactly how he lost, but he did indeed lose the battle, and he was sealed in, while there's no technically hell, there is something called the dark area, which is basically a infinite expanse of darkness where great evil resides in. Now, those that were part of his army were basically angels. They fell and they are known as the great demon lords. And they were once, seraphs and all the highest pantheon of angels.
Makes sense. They're
Yes.
in some Christian ideology, there are seven demon lords who were great generals who also fell beside Lucifer.
These demons and Lucifer are connected to the seven deadly sins. Is there anything like the seven deadly sins? Is that something in the Bible?
Well, it's not in the Bible itself, but it is in Christian doctrine about the seven deadly sins and the seven demon lords being connected to it.
I believe there is something like very close to this to the seven deadly sins in the Book of Solomon with some sort of witches or whatever.
I, well, it's not really the seven deadly sins in there, but that is an apocrypha book. The Book of Solomon is an apocrypha book,
Uh,
related to the Book of Kings. So it's that's where the idea first came from.
oh, I see. So that's how it all sort of connects back to each other. Now, in terms of looks and design, Lucemon in its first form is pretty much a one of the older artists, maybe as Renaissance design of basically a small childlike humanoid angel.
Yeah, this is representative of the modern interpretation of cherubim, which are small human-like angels, which are completely different from how they look in the Bible, but it is to represent the more innocent and childlike angels.
Right. Though isn't that's not stated to be what he is, it is a form he took.
Yeah.
Now, is there any actual reference to the looks of Satan in the Bible?
Yeah, it's vague, but there are passages that describe him as the most beautiful of all angels before he fell, and then when he takes on his dragon form there and his beast of revelation form, there's descriptions for that too. But his original angel form most likely would look similar to the Book of Ezekiel, where angels had 8 wings. They were humanoid in appearance, but their legs were completely straight, had 8 wings and eyes everywhere.
I've definitely seen that design being referenced here and there. So yeah, that is coming sort of back in popularity. Though the way it describes it, it does seem like something that they would have just made non-canon, just the way how descriptive and outer worldly it is. Now to his techniques, now there's oddly nothing when it comes to techniques about fire. His techniques are all pretty much related to light and darkness, which sort of goes into his other forms, where he is pretty much a angel, still an angel, and still also has a demonic side.
Yeah, this would most likely be representative of him after the fall, since since fallen angels are often described as as being able to appear similar to their original angel form but corrupted.
Yes, I definitely feel here just angelic, but still darkened by the fall. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Don't suppose there's anything in relation to Paradise Lost?
Well, actually, yes. Paradise Lost is one of the major books that helped Christianity. It's the first book written by a writer from Satan's point of view, John Milton, I believe. It was describing the fall of Satan and his betrayal and corruption of humankind. And by humankind, I mean specifically Adam and Eve.
Interesting. So I guess that's only fitting that that's pretty much his ultimate move. At least that's the name of it.
Yeah.
I guess it's also fitting because we mentioned wrestling, hand-to-hand combat. Oddly enough, a lot of Lucymon's moves are one is a pile driver and the others are roundhouse kicks. So
Yeah.
he
Again,
prefers hand to hand.
Yeah, makes sense. Him and Michael were basically the angels are fighting, so it makes sense he would focus so exclusively on martial arts.
Yes, I guess it does when you put it like that. Now, in his other angelic form, his first chibi form, I guess I could say, is, well, there's probably nothing like this in the Bible. He just summons planetoid magical spears, but called Grand Cross. But the one thing that relates to the Bible is it's in the shape of a cross, at least.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
got nothing since crosses are Jesus' whole deal, and you'd think the devil wouldn't like crosses, but
Hey, maybe it's that thing of like his
yeah,
sort of
maybe
way
it's
of
one of
mocking
those.
it.
Yeah, maybe it's that.
Another thing that is just flat out called arrogant. So again, that just sticks to the theme of who he is. Another thing is called testament.
Which is again literally just what thing the testaments are literally just parts of the Bible where someone who has had a religious experience speaks on those religious experiences. They testify.
And who has had a greater religious experience than Lucifer? Well, I'm not sure if it's in the Bible. There's something called heaven's judgment where he shoots down lightning bolts. Is there any lightning bolts in the Bible?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're usually the domain of God, so it feels like once again this is Lucifer using Lucemon using his enemies' techniques to mock them in a way to say, "Hey, look at this."
Like, hey, I can do this too now.
Yeah,
Now, another one of his ultimate moves is him manipulating the forces of light and dark that can either 50-50 kill you or poison you, confuse you, scare you, or stun you.
yeah, that would make sense because, as previously mentioned, Lucifer is the light bringer, and even after his fall, he would logically still have his light powers. He would just also have darkness powers from being in hell.
He pretended to be on the side of the children in order to gain power.
Yeah, that makes sense. He is the great deceiver.
Here we go. Purgical flames. Flames that a dark area that he uses against his opponent. So that's at least one sort of flame technique that we have, and
Yeah.
it's related to hell.
Yep. The
I
name.
guess. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. You finish, then I'll go.
Nah, I pretty much said everything.
Okay. Well, yeah, the name Purgatorial Flames literally comes from the word purgatory, which is another word for hell. So, and the fact that these flames are black also brings to mind the biblical description of hell, which is that it is dark and on fire, which means the flames would have to be black if there's no light coming from them.
Yes, because I think that also fits with just the dark area itself, which is pretty much has almost no other visible description but darkness. Very much related to the Bible, at least in a Jewish sense, and I'm gonna try to say this word as best I can. Gehenna.
Ah, it's well, there's two ways to pronounce it. You can pronounce it Gehenna or Gehenna.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Gehenna is the spiritual plane where negative negative thoughts, actions, and spirits come from. It is more or less hell without actually being hell.
In some ways, Lucemon is a natural entity because he is pride. And as long as there is pride or sin within the heart of humanity, he can basically never go away.
This is actually something that ties into more recent Christian doctrine, which is a idea that demons and angels aren't just physical beings, but they are directly tied to concepts. They embody the concepts that they represent fully, and that is one of the things. Like, there's an idea that depression isn't just a mental illness, but an actual demon, and that as long as there are people who are depressed, the demon itself will never go away. It's a newer concept, only coming around the last 200 years or so, but it's a really interesting one that's been gaining a lot of popularity.
Interesting. And now we can end this by talking about his final mode. That is Lucemon Satan mode.
Ah, yes, the Beast of Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hold on, let me crack my knuckles, because this one I actually have to deep dive for a little.
Oh boy, go ahead. Can't wait.
So, in the Book of Revelation, Lucifer and the Son of God, Jesus, have a
Mhm.
final battle where Lucifer assumes his final epic, ultimate, super mega form, where he turns into a beast with 7 heads and 10 crowns on each head, representing destruction, violence, and the end of all things. He wants to tear down God's creation and remake it in his own image in a much worse way.
Interesting. I guess that actually fits very well here because it just flat out says on having the appearance of the dragon of revelation, his final form.
Yep, 7 heads, 10 horns, 10 crowns. Just
Yes,
yeah, just a really ugly thing to look at.
though it's not that ugly here, it is definitely a bestial form of which upon his body are the crowns of the great demon lords.
Yep, that would be the 10 horns, I guess.
And perhaps due to his pride and arrogance, his wish is to destroy the world and make a new one in his image.
Yeah, there we go. I guess with that final form, they're like, look, we named him Lucemon. We're just gonna stop being subtle here.
Yes, it's just is Lucifer. What more do you want? All right, I think that's about almost everything I can find. Now, the grading is basically grading on looks, design, and how much it plays with the lore, both as a character, his background, the universe around him, and of course, techniques and looks.
hmm
You go ahead.
Okay, well, yeah. For the looks, while I'm always annoyed by the depiction of cherubs as innocent baby faces, it works in this context because part of Lucifer's whole thing is deceiving you into thinking he's harmless. So I'm going to give that a. So they do very well with that. His second angel form is great and fits the idea of Satan very well. And his final form, which is the Beast of Revelation, is just the Book of Revelation. Like
just
it's
just
just
straight up.
flat out. So yeah, all that is great.
I would
For the
say one
lore,
one thing I also do like about of course he has an X form. That first true transformation he has like an angel wing and a devil wing. And when he
yeah,
transforms, something I didn't actually notice because they're both gold, but if you still actually look at it, one side is still demonic.
mm,
So you go
that is
ahead.
great symbolism.
Yes, I really like it. Yeah.
Now, for the lore, most of the lore is pretty spot on. And again, I have to give them credit. They played with Christianity just enough to make it work, which is always impressive to me when Japan does this, since Japan knows nothing, next to nothing about Christianity. It's very rare over there.
Mm.
So whenever they get so much of it right, I'm always impressed. So I gotta give them extra points for that. It fits the lore in a very well, while still doing a very unique and amazing job.
And I think the last is just um, techniques.
Because we don't have a lot of information on how Lucifer fights, they had to take a lot of liberties. But from what they did show, and from the references to not only to what little we do know about him, they do a good job with what they had to work with, while still coming up with a lot of really interesting concepts.
I agree. So what is your final score?
My final score, I gotta give them a, like you said last time, we don't give them numbers, so I have to give them a positive score. They did really well with this. Their research is spot on, which again for Japan is amazing whenever Japan gets Christianity right. And the techniques are great, and they just have it, like I said, they just have him as the Beast of Revelation for his final form, because they probably just saw that in the Bible and were like, we can't top this. There's nothing we can do to top this. This is the coolest thing ever.
Now me, I guess pretty much agree with what you said. I actually really like. I also like that while definitely humanoid, he looks really weird. Like he's a weirdly shaped thing, like giant feet, like muscular but still short arms. Like he is still like a sort of pretty but very actually scary looking entity.
That uncanny valley effect, like just looking at him, your brain goes, It's close enough to human to make me uncomfortable with how wrong it is.
Exactly. Exactly. And of course, the Book of Revelation, that's just like it's almost 1-to-1, and in this X form, which is like like I think everyone compares it to Heaven Ascension Dio. If you watch JoJo.
I watched JoJo. Yeah, I got that reference.
So yeah, overall, I would give him. I do wish he had some. No, he actually does have a good amount of fire-related moves, and I do like his relation to the other demons. So you know what? Yeah, I get him a A- as well.
All right.
That's wonderful. All right, buddy. Till
All
next
right.
time.
Till next time.
Anything you want to promote?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you head over to my channel, I retell myths. So far, we have two: the story of Sisyphus and the story of the Yamababa. I try to post every Saturday. Have fun with those. And if you wait about 2 months, my first book, the 21st Century Guide to Mythology, Greek Myths Retold, will be out on Amazon.
Yes, everyone, please check all of that out, and please remember to like and subscribe. Later.
There it is.